Hello, this is Mr. Wyrick, and I'm here to talk to you about Lesson 8.4, which is trigonometry. You'll need to take down the definition of trigonometry, which is the measure of triangles. This is a study of right triangles. It's looking at different relationships in right triangles. A trigonometric ratio, of which there are a few. We'll take a look at 3 of them mainly for class this year. But that's talking about the ratio of any one of the sides of a triangle to another one. So it could be AB to AC, or AB to BC, or the ratio of AC to CB. Any way we can compare 2 sides. And they all have names. Just the order that they're usually listed in. The sine is the opposite side from whatever angle. So if we're looking from angle B, the sine would be this opposite side as compared to the hypotenuse of the right triangle. Cosine from this one would be the adjacent side, the one that's closest to it, over the hypotenuse of that right triangle. And then the tangent of this same one would be the opposite side over the adjacent side. Usually the way that people remember this is they're told that there's an Indian princess named Sohcahtoa, which would be Sohcahtoa. So if you can remember Sohcahtoa, the sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse, the cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, and the tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. Now, you have to remember that the angle measure is supposed to go in here. So you're going to find sine with either, they've given you these 2 sides, they're asking for the angle measure, and you would work that using the inverse sine, indicated on your calculator as this, if you're looking at the trig functions on our Inspire calculator. The cosine, if we have the angle at one side, we can find the hypotenuse, we can find the angle measure, whatever it is, and then the tangent of that angle is if we have these opposite and adjacent sides, we can find the angle measure, we can find any part of it, okay? The angle measure always goes right in here. So there's any way that you can work back through those depending on what you are given in the problem. To start with, they're going to give you all 3 of those measurements and ask you what would be this, what would be this, what would be this. But later on it's going to be, they just give you measurements and they don't tell you if you're going to find sine, the cosine, or the tangent. So you'll have to remember these relationships so you won't have to refer back to notes necessarily in between. These are going to come up again in pre-calculus and probably calculus, where you'll be dealing with the unit circle and measuring in radians, which gives you very different kind of measures than what we're doing here. You'll need to make sure, and we'll go over this in class, you'll need to make sure that you are dealing with the sine in degrees and not radians. So we'll talk about how to change the calculator to make sure that it does degrees and not radians. Other than that, if you have questions over this, if something doesn't make sense, then you'll need to make sure you come into tutorials, come talk to me before class, during lunch, some kind of time there. We will be working problems 16 through 45, and then we will do some skipping here, and we will work 63 and 64. So these are the problem numbers that you will need to address in class, 16 through 45, and then 63 and 64. I'll give you a good idea of what's going on. Again, if you have questions, make sure you ask those during class, and we'll see you then.